Hello! Welcome to another video. It is somehow that time of year again. It is time of year for the mid-year book freakout tag, and I think for the first time in the history of me doing this video, I might have got the name right. Anyway, I wanted to wait until early July to film this because, you know, the end of June marks mid-year, so I didn't want to film it in June just in case anything, you know, wild happened towards the end of June. I don't think it did. But yeah, mid-year book freakout tag, same thing every year, list of questions, going through the best, the worst, the everything else. And for me, this year, or the first half of this year, it's been like the good, the bad, and the slumpy, because I have been in a pretty bad slump for like at least a couple of months so far this year, and considering there's only been 6 months, that's a decent portion of that time, so I feel like I've got less good books to talk about in this mid-year freakout tag than I have in previous ones. The slump really got me. I'm mad about it. But I do think I'm on the other side of it now, like I think I am coming out of it at long last. I feel a bit more motivated to read and I'm excited about what I'm picking up again, which is great, but yeah, for the last couple of months it's been pretty slumpy. I don't think there are any questions about slumpiness, so here's me just adding that information. It's been a slumpy first half of the year. I think total-wise, let me just check my core pile spreadsheet. I have read 53 books so far this year, which is actually pretty good going. If we include DNFs, that's 56, so I have apparently had 3 DNFs this year as well so far. So, I mean, 53 isn't bad, I just feel like the quality hasn't been as great as it could have been. Anyway, let's stop the blabbing and get on with the questions. Question number 1, best book of 2022 so far. This is a no-brainer and it has to be The House of Always by Jen Lyons. This is book 4. Yep, book 4 in the Chorus of Dragons series, which has become one of my new favourite series. The most recent one I've read, because I still haven't read Discord of Gods yet, otherwise it probably would have been Discord of Gods, but House of Always by Jen Lyons. This series has just been one that I've absolutely fallen in love with. Jen Lyons has become one of my new favourite authors, but I'm pretty sure I was introduced to her last year, so kind of a crossover. But this series is, as I've just seen a blurb on the back say, one hell of a ride. Follows a boy called Kieran, who finds out that he may be related to some sort of prince in the royal family, but the gods also maybe want a piece of him, and the dragons maybe want a piece of him, and the demons maybe want a piece of him, and he's very much involved in a whole lot that's going on. It's a very confusing series, I will say that, but you've probably heard me go on about it a lot before. Did I enjoy this one or the first one most? I don't know. I've enjoyed them all. They've all been 5 stars. This was no exception, but this, I think, is the best book I've read so far in 2022. Next up is the best sequel you've read so far in 2022, and naturally any of the Chorus of Dragons books probably would have applied, but I didn't want to repeat myself too much, so I've gone for a middle grade, and it is Starfell 2. This was fantastic. I loved Starfell 1, it was very highly recommended by Emma. I read it and absolutely fell in love. I completely see the hype for it, and the sequel is just as good. Absolutely love it. If you're a fan of Nevermore, if you're a fan of just whimsical, fun, adventurous, slightly wild middle grade adventures with a sprinkling of chaotic magic, this is just so good. I haven't continued since book 2 and I really need to because I really enjoy these books. They're really quick reads and such fun. They follow a young girl called Willow Moss who has kind of a bit of a naff power. Her magical ability is the ability to find lost things, and she uses it to like find lost socks and things like that. and she thinks it's a little bit pants, until a powerful witch needs her help finding an entire lost day. That is what happens in the first one, and then this is the forgotten tale, and there is something else lost that Willow needs to help find. Great fun. I really recommend them if you're into the, like, crazy, magical middle grades. It's a good one. Question number 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet, but that you really want to, and I think it's a no-brainer to go for Discord of Gods by Jen Lyons. I literally just mentioned this. This is the 5th and final book in the Chorus of Dragons series. I was so excited to get to this, like, as soon as it came out. I started reading it, got a decent way through it, but then the slump hit me. Or the slump hit me, then I started reading this and I just needed to stop because I didn't want to impact this book too badly with, like, how I was feeling. Like, this book needed the best possible opportunity for me to read it, and when I was slumping and just not wanting to read in general, I didn't want to ruin this experience. So I had to put it down, which means I have not yet read it. I am thinking that the time is coming up for me to read it now that I'm getting out of my slump, feeling a bit more motivated, a bit more excited about my reading again. I'm so eager to know about so much that goes on in here and how things turn out. I'm kind of amazed at myself that it's taken me this long to, like, get back into the excitement to want to read this, but I need to. Like, one of my favourite series, and I haven't read the last book yet because of a bloody slump. So, fuck the slump. I need to read this book. I'm excited. Question number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I was thinking about this and I wasn't entirely sure, and then Fairy Loot did the announcement for the Rivers of Silver. River of Silver? The River of Silver? I think it's The River of Silver by S.A. Chakraborty, which is the collection of short stories from the Jadeyraereads world. I forgot that that was coming out in the second part of this year. I'm so excited about that. I love the Jadeyraereads trilogy so very much. I have the Fairy Loot editions of those, so fingers crossed I can get the Fairy Loot edition of The River of Silver as well. I'm so excited to be thrown back into the Jadeyraeads world. I loved that trilogy so much, so learning more about that world, because I think there are short stories from, like, before the trilogy and after the trilogy. I can't wait. So, The River of Silver. Question number 5 is the biggest disappointment of the year so far, and for me that has got to be Goldie Vance Volume 5. I no longer own this, I have unhauled it. I loved Goldie Vance Volumes 1 through 4, and then I think Volume 5 was written by someone else, maybe, but it just was not on the same level at all. It felt so different. It took me so long to read this tiny comic because the vibe was just wrong and it did not feel like a continuation to Goldie Vance. So my advice to you is, if you're going to read the Goldie Vance comics, read volumes 1 through 4 and call it quits. You don't need to read volume 5. It does not add anything. It is disappointing. It's got the wrong vibe. It doesn't feel like it's part of the same story. I was so disappointed by it. Question number 6 is the biggest surprise of the year so far, and for me, I think it's got to be Bad Gods by Guy Sebold. This was a ride. This is about a woman called Babylon Steele who runs a brothel in Scalentine, and Scalentine is this city full of all sorts of different creatures and races and all sorts of different people where they all kind of come together and live harmoniously. And she runs a brothel there. There is this lizard man who has 2 penises. There is this centipede creature that has 4 boobs. So put that all together in a brothel setting. You can imagine there's some strange content in here, and there is some strange content in here. But it does have an overarching plot of a murder mystery / kidnap mystery where Babylon is invited to help with this investigation about a sex worker who has been murdered and a young woman who has gone missing, and she is incredibly important to the upper classes. But her getting involved in this mystery also drags up something to do with her very mysterious past and the reason she came to Scalentine in the first place and what she's hiding from everyone around her, and a big part of this is the corruption of the godlike figures in this world. It was fascinating because it was, like, wild, but it was also good. Like, I don't think I would say it's well written, but it wasn't bad, and it was entertaining, but not just for the weird sex, also for the mystery plot and the learning about Babylon's past and who she was against who she is now, etc. It was just really good, and it definitely took me by surprise. So there you go. Question number 7 is a new favourite author, whether that be a debut or just new to you, and this is definitely a new to me author, but it is Jadeyraereads, the author of The Black Hawks and The Righteous, which is the sequel. They are the only 2 books that David has out at the minute, and I absolutely loved them. The humour, the banter, the entertainment, it was great fun. This duology is about a young boy called Shell who is in service to his uncle, and he does not want to be, and he finds a way to get his uncle to agree that if he drags the bratty prince to the other side of the kingdom to escape some sort of conflict, then he will no longer be in service. But it's a bit of a dangerous mission, and when you've got assassins and mercenaries on your back, you need assassins and mercenaries on your side. Introducing the Black Hawks. So the Black Hawks are this band of people, band of killers, and the banter, the humour, it's everything I wanted it to be. I would kind of compare it to Sebastian de Castell, one of my favourites, obviously. It's that similar humour, witty, sarcastic banter, and I loved it. So, a new favourite author for sure. I will definitely be reading more from Jadeyraereads. Question number 8 is your newest fictional crush, and I will be honest, I thought long and hard about this question, and I really don't have one. I don't have a fictional, like, book boyfriend sort of character. I really can't think of anyone, so I've decided to settle on probably a Babylon Steele from Bad Gods because she's badass and runs a brothel. Question number 9 is your new favourite character. Now, naturally I wanted to say Kieran or Talon, but I read The Ruin of Kings last year, so I can't say Kieran or Talon. So I'm gonna say Lemon from the Black Hawks. Lemon is one of the ladies that is part of this group. She's hilarious. She has a whole monologue about how much she hates fucking wolves and their fucking fluffy tails, the little shits, she's gonna ring them wolves. Like, this whole monologue about it, and like the effing and blinding about, here we go, not like them fucking wolves and bears and whatnot, always fucking wolves, shit hawks, all I say, if I see a fucking wolf I'm gonna brain it with a fucking hammer and wear its flattered like a fucking hat, no fucking wolf better come near me. Lemon the Wolf Hammer, that's what they call me, too fucking right, Wolfie, you just try it. Let me show you your little wolfy teeth. I'll have your fucking tail to cleanse my ass. I love Lemon, so Lemon. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. This is normally a question that's pretty hard for me to answer because I feel like I don't cry at books that often. However, one that entirely took me by surprise because I thought I was going to DNF it, I didn't think I was going to like it, and then I ended up loving it and bawling my eyes out, is Locked Out Lily by Nick Lake. This is about a young girl whose parents are having another baby, and when they go to hospital to have the baby, in her house the replacements are there, and these are these people that look like her parents but do not act like her parents, and they want Lily out. They lock her out, and Lily has the help of a raven, a snake, a mouse, and a mole to find a way back into her house to defeat the replacements and welcome her real parents home again. This was so emotional. So emotional. I will not say any more than that, but it really did take me by surprise by how much I ended up enjoying it, how emotional it was, and I did bawl my eyes out at this. So, surprise. This was really cute and really sad. Question number 11 is a book that made you happy, and for this I'm going with Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This book is one that I read whilst I was in a slump. I was proper slumpy, and this just felt like the perfect recipe for something that I could easily read, enjoy, not feel too bogged down by, and just have a good time with, and I really did. This is pitched as a novel of high fantasy and low stakes about a barbarian orc. Yes, she was an orc barbarian who wants to move to a new city, open a coffee shop, and leave her violent days behind her, and that is exactly what this story follows, the opening of a coffee shop. It was cute, it had really good vibes, but it is exactly what it says on the tin. High fantasy, low stakes. There is not a great deal going on in this book, but I think that's why it was perfect for what I needed at that point. Low stakes, simple, relaxing enjoyment, and that's why I had such a good time with it. The food, the descriptions, the like sensory language in it, like it just felt like such a good relaxing time. I've seen a lot of people really enjoy this one, and I know it has been picked up by Tor, I think, for traditional publishing as well now, so that's great. But it was just such a good time about this coffee shop and like the found family along the way of Viv the orc opening this coffee shop and achieving her dreams, and yeah, I had a really good time with it. It was good fun, and I definitely think I read it at the perfect time considering the slumpy slump. Question number 12 is, what is the most beautiful book you have bought or received so far this year? Many. I subscribe to Fairy Loot, so a lot of books that I get from Fairy Loot are just drop dead gorgeous, but one that I think stands out to me the most as the prettiest is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. Look at those sprayed edges. They're just so gosh darn beautiful. I love it. Under the dust jacket is beautiful as well, and even the end papers, just everything about this book is gorgeous. And I read the first chapter of this one in my Try a Chapter tag Fairy Loot edition because I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. I was pleasantly surprised by that first chapter. Haven't read it yet, but I do think that I will at some point, and I definitely need to hold on to it because it's frickin' gorgeous. And then finally, question number 13 is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And the answer to that, quite honestly, is too many to name. Too many. Like, there are so many books that I need to read. Obviously, I need to read Discord of Gods. That is a top priority for me. I'm really looking forward to reading Skandar and the Unicorn Thieves, which is a middle grade that I should be reading sometime soon. I am desperate to read Jade War sometime soon. Like, that is one that I really am wanting to get to. Pokemon. So much Pokemon. I have so many editions of Pokemon that I am desperate to get to that I got for my birthday. Check out my birthday unboxing if you want to see a bunch more books that I'm really excited to read. There's just so much that I'm excited to read, and I think if I put too much pressure on like having certain books that I need to read, considering how slumpy I've been for the beginning of this year, I don't think that's a great idea. I don't even want to look at my priority lists for 2022 that I did at the beginning of the year because the pressure and the slumpiness, it's just not a great recipe, so I'm gonna probably ignore them until early next year and then see how badly I failed, because I know that I'm going to have failed this year because the slump has just been at me. So we won't talk about that, but so many books that I need to read still in the second half of this year and just the rest of my life in general, I think. So we'll leave it at that. And there you go. There is the mid-year book freakout tag 2022. I hope you have enjoyed. Feel free to let me know what your answers would be to some of these books. What is the best book that you have read in the first half of 2022? I think that is probably the most important question on this list. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, give us a thumbs up, chat to me down below, all that good stuff. If you aren't subscribed and fancy subscribing, I would be eternally grateful for that. But that's it for now, and I guess I will see you in whatever comes next.